Welcome. You're watching uninterrupted coverage of the Obama visit. We're going to begin with those visuals of President Obama walking down the gangway accompanied by the First Lady of Air Force One, and then being met by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who really broke protocol this morning to assert and showcase this relationship, this growing discourse that has taken Indo-US ties out of the difficult times it found itself in over the last 24 months or so to a completely new level. You can see both the leaders there in an unprecedented show of camaraderie, hugging each other, shaking hands. There was a lot said, a lot of smiles exchanged. The First Lady also stepping into those pictures there. The Prime Minister going and also saying a few words to her. Also, of course, you saw in that little 2-minute or so meeting the leftovers, or perhaps the taking forward of the chemistry we saw the leaders shared in the United States in late September. Sanjay Puri is with us. Sanjay Puri, these pictures are emblematic of perhaps where we are today, as opposed to 24 months ago. Let's take that as a ballpark figure, 24 months back, where we are in our relationship with the United States. Now, I know that industry is waiting with bated breath because this entire relationship is also predicated on deliverables. Many people say that, oh, well, you know, relationships should be more strategic than transactive, but you can't divorce the two, can you? Sanjay Puri.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Industry is looking at India again. India is, as you heard in Davos also, again the toast of Davos. So I think with this new government that has come in, people are saying that India's growth rate is very attractive, and maybe things are going to happen and change again. So that's why you see a big business delegation that has come in, and they've not come in just to see the Taj. They've come in here to actually do some business, and you can't separate transactions from business because Americans are really a transaction-oriented people.
Transaction-oriented people. VB Soni, Ambassador VB Soni, can you separate the two? I've been reading a large number of commentators saying that, well, you see, this relationship can no longer just be transactive. It has to transcend to the next level. Do you agree with that assessment, or do you think there has to be transaction, and on the transaction you build the edifice of a strategic or a tactical association?
Any relationship, in order to be long abiding and continuing, it has to be backed by some economic content. Because you can talk about platitudes, you can talk about nice things about each other, but until and unless the two sides come up and discuss something more enduring, something more long-lasting, which affect people from both the sides. In this case, the business angle.
Well, for the purposes of our viewers, the bottom of the screens on the agenda, the Make in India campaign. Geeta Mohan is with us. Make in India, what to look out for. A large number of deals are going to be inked, a large number of them in the defense sector, Geeta. But beyond that, there is also huge expectation from American industry. There's going to be a separate, on the 27th, there's going to be a separate meet just to address that faculty of individuals. Just talk us through some of those larger pressing engagements.
Well, Rahul, like you rightly mentioned, while the important aspect of the relations is going to be defense, and there are going to be important announcements with regards to defense, Make in India and the thrust to further the trade ties between the two countries is certainly going to be one aspect. On the 26th, which is tomorrow, we will see President Barack Obama and Prime Minister Narendra Modi address a US CEO forum here in New Delhi at the Taj Palace, and also later with the US-India Business Council, there is going to be another meeting where Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Barack Obama are going to interact with business leaders. When Narendra Modi was in the United States of America, he met with the top leadership, the industry leaders in the US, and which is what President Barack Obama is also going to do. He is going to interact with the top CEOs here in India. He himself has come with a huge business delegation, so business is also going to be top of the agenda. And in the Make in India thrust, Rahul, while there is going to be a lot of emphasis on how industries and companies should start coming and set up shops in India, the defense sector also, there is going to be a lot of emphasis by India. The defense sector also should have and look at India to come in and start manufacturing from here. Will that happen this time around? We do not know, but there are important announcements to that effect.
Very interesting. What we are seeing on the pictures on the right were of the suite. We've just taken them off. Well, we're back on the Summit Lounge there. This is all in the ITC Moria, the Grand Presidential Suite, the formal dining area. This is the Grand Presidential Suite. You can see the layout of that suite. That's where Obama is right now at the ITC Moria lobby. Going into, of course, this beautiful plush setting. This is the suite reserved for Mr. Obama and his wife, Michelle Obama. That's the suite washroom at the back. You can see the Summit Lounge. This is where the United States top bureaucracy, etc., will be sitting and briefing the president before his 9 meetings with Prime Minister Modi. We're giving you unprecedented access here. Sanjay Puri, the optics are important. The optics are important. We've talked about them for a long time. But the fact is that a lot of these suites, etc., will be discussing what's there to offer and what we can get. Because that's where the bureaucrats will be talking, briefing the President Obama about how he can sort of cut through some of the red tape that has bound this relationship down. In your expectations, what is American business really looking for? Because the same CEO forums, etc., are taking place. And to borrow a pun really from those visuals, Mr. Modi went to America to drum up support for his Make in India plan. Now, has he been able to convert that into action in the American mindset, or do you think there are still a lot of things to be done?
You know, there are 2-3 points here that I want to mention. About 5 days ago, President Obama gave his State of the Union address. And if you actually listen to his State of the Union address, it was all about Make in USA, because he addressed middle-class concerns. So then you try to, contrast that with Prime Minister Modi's Make in India.
Yes.
So you have to kind of figure that one out.
And India was not mentioned, not once, in the State of the Union address.
No, it was not.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about middle class and things of that nature. But the CEOs who are coming here are not going to do deals because President Obama has told them to do deals. They're going to do deals because it's good for the shareholders and it's good for their companies. And the CEOs in the United States are taking a trust but verify approach with India, because they've heard this story before that things are going to be great, India is going to be the big prize, but they are going to watch and carefully dip their toes again to make sure there are clear, consistent policies.
Well, to our advantage, to India's advantage, just before this visit, the World Bank and the IMF have both said that by 2016, that's next year, India will overtake China in the growth rate, 6.5.
Yeah, well,
so that
all depends.
That is a very propitious...
I want to bring in Rishabh on this point. Rishabh, lots of business deals, but there are some thorny issues. There are intellectual property right issues which are holding back at least big pharma from coming to India. There are a large number of other issues with regards to intellectual property rights under the WTO framework. There is the, there are several other transactional issues. There's a tax issue where we're supposedly going to be seeing some movement. Just take us through some of these issues.
Okay, on the deal with the WTO issue that you were pointing out, on the issue of IPR. Now, what's the issue of IPR? If India, we are being told under the present government is planning by May this year to come up with a comprehensive IPR policy. You've seen in just the past couple of weeks that the costs of generic medicines in India, especially some very, very difficult decisions for the government, when you're talking about things like cancer medicine, the costs have been increased 4-fold, 5-fold. So steps in that direction have already been taken. On the issue of the WTO, when it comes to the farmer subsidies, the understanding that we have is that the deal that is being worked on, the deal has not been reached yet, but the deal that is being worked on initially between the US and India is that that the rules of the WTO remain, right, but India gets a no questions asked grace period of about 5 years, which means that nobody complains about India not following the rules for about 5 years. So there are a lot of thorny issues, but the information that we get, Rahul, is that these thorny issues are being worked on, and there is some concrete progress in these areas.
Well, yes.
We handled the WTO wrong from the beginning.
Okay.
We got a window for drugs called compulsory licensing.
Yes.
Now the great powers are putting pressure on us to dilute that, which means that, for example, in Africa, the people who die of Ebola virus, HIV, etc., will really shoot up, and it will also hit our people. As far as the food subsidy issue is concerned, it is well known that when the WTO was in its form as the Dunkel draft text, the US upped its subsidies by a substantial amount and then was able to lower them when WTO came in because they built in a buffer. The Indian government didn't do anything like this. So, you know, it's because of bad handling of treaties that we are in this situation. Because after 5 years, are our farmers going to be in a situation that they can deal without subsidies?
That's an important point, Sanjay Puri. You know, look, at one level, you have to protect the Indian consumer too. And one of the reasons why we sort of go for generic drug manufacturing in this country is to keep prices of pharmaceuticals low. Otherwise, they'll be unaffordable.
That's the big conflict where Big Pharma versus Indian healthcare concerns. What Big Pharma says is they spend $1 billion in producing a drug, and countries like India take advantage of that, and they don't spend the money in R&D, and they're basically copying this medicine. But there is a balance somewhere, because Indian consumers cannot pay what a Western society consumer can, or Africans, or things of that nature. So I think there has to be a balance done, because otherwise, you know, it's just not going to work.
Well, there are also several taxation issues which are discouraging foreign investment. Just talk us through some of these, and some of them are legacy issues.
Well, you know, the retroactive taxation was the one that really scared everybody. If there's one thing that would have scared investors away, that was the whole retroactive taxation. That was the worst thing that they could have done. So now, you know, Finance Minister Jaitley is talking the talk, walking the walk, and saying it's never going to happen. You know, the terrorism taxation or taxation terrorism is not going to happen. But this GST becomes an important thing also, because think about it. If taxes are confusing for Indians, think about a foreigner coming here trying to do business. I mean, they're going to be stunned in terms of all these complications and the rules and laws. It's hard to do business for Indians. Forget about what it is going to be for foreigners. So I think taxation issues will have to be resolved here.
And
yes.
we are very low on the grade. I think we are still at 112
Yes.
on the ease of business.
Well, their goal is to be 50.
Yeah. How much is it?
Their Prime Minister said that we want to be in the 50s. Come to 50s.
Yeah, but we are 112 now.
Okay, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. I just want to quickly go across to Geeta Mohan. Geeta Mohan, on the issue of these big investor meets, what are we expecting? Are we expecting some formal commitments to be made by Prime Minister Modi on taxation, on bettering the investment climate in this country, and what shape are they going to take fundamentally?
Well, Rahul, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in conversations with President Barack Obama, has been time and again talking about reforms in India when it comes to business and business environment and building investors' confidence. He did that when he met with the CEOs in the United States of America, most of them having a lot of problems, not just with regards to the taxation laws, but also with regards to the recent Supreme Court rulings. That really has not gone down well with international investors, saying that if they come here and invest here in India, and if there can be court cases wherein the entire deal can be overturned, then why is it that these investors should be looking at India at all? So there are a lot of investor confidence building that we've seen in the past, and there are quite a bit of assurances that will be given by the Indian government and the establishment in terms of reforms, in terms of how steady the marketplace in India is going to be. But beyond that, remember, these are private market players, and so they will have to take a decision on their own. Nuclear liability also, the biggest problem and the biggest hurdle has been the fact that in the United States of America, the suppliers are all private players, unlike in Russia or other countries where specifically nuclear and such industries are held are state-owned and are not owned by private players. Given that U.S. primarily is a private and most of the industries are private enterprises, there is a lot more confidence building that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has had to do, and some assurances will come from him. But in terms of concrete announcements,
right,
so to say, we do not really know if there are going to be specific concrete announcements with regards to the retrospective laws and taxation laws.
Okay, well, this is interesting because I'm also getting news, breaking news coming in. I think Rishabh can enlighten us more on this. U.S. airline flight lands in Atlanta after bomb threat. So there's some action going on back home.
Yeah, exactly. I can tell you the president will be being updated on this right now. Bomb threats, we are being told, on 2 U.S. airline flights have prompted that air fighter planes in North America have been scrambled around Atlanta. The planes have landed, we are being told, at the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airports, and no bombs have been found on either. We don't know why these threats were made, but we are being told that the flights were taking off from Portland in Oregon, and there's a Southwest Airlines flight 2492 from Milwaukee, and the initial estimate was that there were credible bomb threats. Although no bombs have been found and the flights have landed safely, the initial intel information that we are getting from US sources is that they were deemed credible bomb threats. This, of course, will have to be open for examination.
Well, thanks indeed, Rishabh. There are updates coming in on that particular point. Let's just quickly move a little away to the other big issue, and that issue really ties in with investment, which is the defense deals. Now, Mr. Puri, American corporations, while they are open to the Make in India pitch that Mr. Modi has made in the United States, want a controlling ownership stake in the joint ventures, which will produce weapon platforms. How do you see that demand? Because many people say that that will give them sort of control, and we will be ceding our national interest if you give American private players control over manufacturing in this country.
Really, the challenge for them is the technology, that they want to have some control over those technologies, because this is technology edge that America has. I mean, America is, in terms of weapons, it's the #1 because of the, when you look at drones or things of that nature, they are not just going to share that technology for nothing. And when it comes to Make in India, their focus is Make in India for India, and maybe for the region around. It can't be Make in India for United States, because that will fly again in contrast to what President Obama has been talking about is Make in USA. But I think there is a issue where they will have to give a little bit of a majority stake. It cannot be 49%. It will have to be more than 49%, and that has to be fixed.
General Mehta.
Well, I think that's the sticking point.
But why would it have to be more than 49%?
No, because because the majority shares, till you get a feel that you control this. But returning to this point on technology, I think that's one of the basic issues as far as this visit is concerned. In fact, the core of the deliverables on this visit is on the defense renewal of the defense framework,
yes,
which was signed between Pranab Mukherjee and Donald Rumsfeld way back in 2005. That framework agreement, along with technology, the DTTI, the Defense Trade and Technology Initiative, which was taken up by the Americans through Ashton Carter, who's now going to become the Defense Secretary, makes it all the more easy. Now, what is happening is that there are we have asked for certain technologies, they have offered certain technologies, but finally, from what one understands, that we've settled for 2, or at least the Americans have offered 2. One is the Raven. It's a short-range surveillance drone.
No, but
just 2 for the time being. Again, I think it has all got to do with A, trust, B, on the level of technology, how much technology
is transferred.
Because we are refusing. India during the previous regime, when Mr. Antony was the defense minister, refused to sign some of the legislations like SISMOA. That is end user. We bought a lot of equipment from the Americans.
Well, one second. I just need to come in here. What pictures we're seeing here are from the forecourt of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. There you can see a cameraman lining up the shot, and we just saw an angle of the shot. This is coming off Delhi Doordarshan News. There you can see it. That's the beautiful resplendent setting. It's a very sunny day, so that will be a welcome break from the dismal weather that we've been having in Delhi over the last few days. But there you can see the stage is set. That's where the President of India will greet and basically host President Obama for a ceremonial reception. That's where he's going to be attending that. And from there on, he goes to Rajghat, where he will pay obeisance and homage to the memory of Mahatma Gandhi. I just want to also cut across and get out a little bit of an insight into what is happening at Rajghat. We have our correspondent there, Supriya Bhardwaj, who's going to take us through what we're expecting to see. Let's just go across to Supriya Bhardwaj. She's standing by at Rajghat. Let's try to get her in. Do we have her there? Supriya, over to you.
We're at the Rajghat, and you can see at the moment that the security arrangements are being made. These are the Black Cat commandos who are going into the Rajghat at the moment, and already there's a multi-layer security which has been put up here. This is the first point where President Barack Obama will be visiting and paying homage to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. And after that, we are learning at this particular place only, he is going to plant a sapling. After this, he will be moving to Hyderabad House. President Obama is expected to arrive here around 12:30 p.m. In the afternoon, and at that time the entire roads in and around Rajghat will be blocked, and as far as the security reasons, as far as the security concerns. With the journalist Sanjay Rohila, this is Supriya Bhardwaj for Newsx at Rajghat in Delhi.
Thanks Supriya, for giving us that update. That was Rajghat, the scene there, security lockdown there. Here, of course, more relaxed, because there is a no-fly zone that has been enforced over this entire area, few square kilometers. Rishabh, you see these pictures, talk us through them.
Yeah, I just wanted to give our viewers an understanding of what you're seeing on your screens. The big red carpet you see on the top left of your screen, that's where the car will park. The entry comes in from the north gate of Rashtrapati Bhavan, where the cavalcade of President Obama will come in. The car will park there. You see two diagonal red carpets. One is emerging on the bottom of the screen. That is coming from the steps of Rashtrapati Bhavan. The other one going to where the car will park. The President Pranab Mukherjee will come in from the diagonal red carpet at the bottom of your screen. The podium has been set up to receive the Guard of Honor. You see the Indian flag on the left side, the American flag on the right side, and the podium has been set up there. They'll receive the Guard of Honor from the presidential bodyguards. From what we understand is it's going to be a standing Guard of Honor. Sometimes you have the protocol that the president escorts the dignitary to pass the Guard of Honor also. But from what we understand, this time it's going to be a standing Guard of Honor. It's going to be a very, very brief ceremony at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Of course, the ceremonial dinner is going to happen tonight. This is just the Guard of Honor ceremony that's going to take place, and you see the remaining part of the forecourt, where of course the media gallery has been set up. These visuals which you're getting right now on your screens, of course, have been taken from the top of Rashtrapati Bhavan. The media gallery there on the left side of your screen. Immediately after this, a very short, brief ceremony. We're expecting it to start in about 20 minutes time. Immediately after this is over, President Obama leaves and heads directly across to Rajghat, where he is going to pay homage to, of course, the Samadhi of Mahatma Gandhi. Then, of course, it remains to be seen whether we are going to get Prime Minister Narendra Modi accompanying him to Rajghat or not. We don't have final information on that yet, but he's already made the out of protocol effort to go down to the Palam airport. So we'll have to see if that happens, might or might not happen. Rajiv Pratap Rudy of the BJP minister in the government is speaking out. Let's quickly listen and we'll keep the visuals on your screen.
I think investment and trade relations are going to improve substantively. So this is an occasion which is an occasion to be marked in history of India. The US President with the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, for the first Republic Day parade which is to be held in India, is indeed a momentous occasion.
Sir, Mr. Modi himself has gone there and received. So is it an indication that...
Well, if we have to make partnership, if we have to boost relationship, if we have to greet someone, which is a part of our culture, and if it is even going ahead and shaking hands to receive someone whom you have invited, I think it's a very big gesture.
Let's quickly, all right, you've been hearing there in from Rajiv Pratap Rudy. Let's quickly go across, before I go to my guest, to Geeta Mohan, of Foreign Affairs Editor. She's planted outside Hyderabad House. Geeta, we know Rajghat is a standard visiting destination for every incoming dignitary. The big event, of course, is going to happen at Hyderabad House, where we are expecting a walk in the shade with Narendra Modi.
Well, some big breaking news coming in, Rishabh, at this point in time. We know that Syed Akbaruddin, the spokesperson of Ministry of External Affairs, had hinted out in the morning that all the nitty-gritties of the nuclear deal, operationalization of the nuclear agreement has been ironed out. What we're given to understand right now is that it has been finalized and the announcement will be made during the joint conference between
big
President
developments,
Barack Obama
big breaking
and Prime
news.
Minister
Geeta
Narendra
Mohan, our
Modi.
foreign affairs editor, is giving. She's saying from the basis of her sources that the finality of the India-US nuclear deal has been ironed out, and we are expecting an announcement in the joint presser expected at about 4:30 this evening. So the deal is pretty much done. Geeta Mohan, do we have any indication on the terms of the agreement?
Well, as of now, no details emerging, just that there has been hectic negotiations were on, Rishabh, in London between the contact groups that were formed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Barack Obama. They were constantly in negotiations in London till the very last minute. And now what we're given to understand is that they have come to an understanding. Will there be sovereign guarantee, Rishabh? That's the big question. And how much is India willing to give in? Remember, all the suppliers from the United States of America were only worried about taking in and having to bear the liability in case something really goes wrong. And the demand was that there needs to be some sort of a sovereign liability, which means that India and the Indian government would also have to pitch in. We do not have details of how much of it has India really given in, and what is the amount that we're talking about at this point in time. But in all probability, it's the sovereign guarantee that clinched the operationalization.
All right, Geeta, stay with me. Let me get some reaction from this. Sanjay Puri, the deal is done. Does this set up a positive atmospheric from the talk? Can we remember this visit as the day the Indo-US nuclear deal was finally materialized, operationalized?
I think it is a
Mr. Puri.
Very significant thing, because the American companies have always been saying that they were the ones, along with the United States, that pushed this deal, got India out of the pariah status as far as the nuclear world is concerned, and they never got an opportunity. The Russians and the French got an opportunity to get the business, but now they will be able to get the business, and I think that really sends a very strong signal to American companies that India will come through when it matters.
Okay, there's been a lot of criticism. Before I pull in GVL Narasimha Rao on this, General Ashok Mehta, there's been a lot of criticism by the opposition, the Congress, about Narendra Modi's foreign trips and his reception of dignitaries here, that nothing substantive comes of it.